Let's talk about the sheer stupidity on Capitol Hill. All right, these Republicans in their weaponization committee actually tried to act like they had these two whistleblowers. Ooh, these FBI whistleblowers complaining about how they've had security clearances taken from them. Well, it's also because, let's just say, they were aligned with the January 6th white domestic terrorist. So the Republicans interviewed them, did not share the information with the Democrats, and then got an attitude, and then one of the witnesses was like, well, I don't want to meet with the Democrats, but then he's going to testify in open court, and Jim Jordan like, well, it's up to the witness. When last time y'all heard, leave it up to the witness to decide who should get their testimony? Well, Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, she wasn't having it.
They give us the bare minimum notice for hearings, no subject indicated. We learn who the hearing witnesses is from British tabloids. That's not normal in the House of Representatives. One must wonder, are Republicans scared of giving us the information so that we can do our own due diligence on these conspiracy theories, these ideas that they want to put forward? Indeed, today's hearing will be more of the same. Perhaps they're too far gone to realize that, in fact, this hearing is evidence, as if we needed any more, that MAGA Republicans are a threat to the rule of law in America. Less than 2 months ago, former President Trump, facing mounting investigations into his many alleged crimes, declared that, quote, Republicans in Congress should defund the DOJ and the FBI until they can come to their senses. And we all know that when Trump says jump, the Republicans in the House say, how high? So here we are, on Police Week, watching House Republicans jump to lay the foundation to defund law enforcement. My colleagues on the far right are on a mission to attack, discredit, and ultimately dismantle the FBI. This is defund the police on steroids. As part of their mission, my colleagues have brought in these former agents, men who lost their security clearances because they were a threat to our national security, who, out of malice or ignorance or both, have put partisan agenda above the oath they swore to serve this country and protect its national security. Just as a point of order, I understand, and we have been made aware from what you stated in your opening statement, as well as in a press conference earlier, that Mr. Allen did meet with you all and might have testimony that was transcribed. Neither, and I understand that he stated that he did not feel comfortable meeting with the Democrats. He's comfortable being here today in this open forum. We will be questioning him. Will you give us a copy of that testimony that was transcribed of your discussions with him?
It'll be up to Mr. Allen.
But you are in possession of them, aren't you?
Sure are.
So why would you not give them to us?
Mr. Allen's a whistleblower and he didn't want that to happen.
He didn't want, but he's comfortable here in open discussion with us today?
Sure is. You can ask him questions if you want.
You don't share your information with the minority?
Nope.
The whistle. No,
so you're not sharing information that you've obtained with the
whistleblower saw what you did with Mr. Friend and others, the false information you gave the press, so much so that they had to issue corrections.
The whistleblower doesn't decide that. The committee decides it.
And we've decided.
And you've decided that you're not going to share.
Mr. Allen is here. You can ask him questions. And we can talk about the testimony, but right now you're not getting the testimony. Mr. Allen's here to testify.
And you'll give us the testimony when? After he's left, or at no point in time, or when will we have that? That's only for the Republicans. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady did not state a point of order.
The point of order was, will he be giving us the testimony of the witness that is here before us, and that you have information of that you are not sharing with the Democrats.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
I was indulging the ranking member. The gentleman from California is right. She's not stated a point of order. The 5-minute questioning time.
So the point of order is I would like the testimony. I move that you give us the testimony of the individual.
Move to table.
Here.
There's a motion been moved to table. Chair, we will call.
So, Lauren, the thing here, these two so-called whistleblowers, former FBI agents Marcus Allen and Steve Friend, well, Allen's security clearance was suspended because he was unwilling to comply with rules and regulations. And that's really what we're dealing with here. And look, this is pretty much a joke from these Republicans. Look, the Democrats have been blasting them for their sheer stupidity. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, this is what she had to say to Jim Jordan and these nutcase Republicans.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that.
Are you making a point of order?
No, I'm asking you a question.
Okay.
A point of inquiry.
Okay.
It's my understanding that the minority in this committee under the rules is entitled to the same testimony, information, documents that the majority is entitled to. So, I mean, I'm not aware that you're able to withhold information from the minority that we would need to use to prepare for.
When it comes to whistleblowers, you're not. And I would just remind the committee, remind everyone. Look, when it comes to whistleblowers, you are not.
That's not right.
It's shocking that the
That
gentleman.
is not right.
It's shocking
And in
that
fact,
the gentleman.
You talk so much about the
Mr. Chairman,
whistleblower and the impeachment.
It's shocking that the gentleman from New York
all of
would
the
state
information
that
we had.
when you were part of an investigation with an anonymous whistleblower.
We
Mr.
had.
Chairman, these
Mr.
individuals
Chairman,
haven't been declared
I can't hear
whistleblowers.
5 people at once. Could we
know.
have regular order?
Mr. Chairman,
Chair recognizes it's.
I'm inquiring, and I was not.
And I've
finished
told you
inquiring.
that when it comes to whistleblowers, you are not entitled to it. That's
These
at the discretion of
individuals-
Mr. Allen.
Mr. Chairman, these
And he
individuals
said
have been determined
he has
not to be
agreed to that.
whistleblowers. These are not whistleblowers. They've been determined by the agency not to be whistleblowers. Are you deciding that they're whistleblowers?
Yes, the law decides. Did you not listen to Mr. Levitt's testimony? Did you not read the law? The
His
law
attorney
decides
is
that they are
asserting-
whistleblowers.
his attorney
the
is
chair
asserting that
recognizes
they are
the gentlelady
whistleblowers.
from
The
New
law
York.
has not
The
determined
gentlelady
that they
from
are
New York has been
whistleblowers.
recognized.
The law has not determined they are whistleblowers. His attorney is just asserting that.
Lauren.
You know, where to begin, really. So this is just sort of complete clown time. What you're watching is a major Democratic Party devolve into just a circus of stupidity and clownery. Jim Jordan is just the second coming of Trey Gowdy. Trey Gowdy, who ran that complete BS Benghazi nonsense to distract everybody. This is all about making YouTube videos so that we can send a fundraising letter out later. So to make a YouTube video, you have to set up an idiot construct of something to get people outraged, to get your fundraising, going. And so you create this nonsense, you do a video. That's what they're doing with these hearings now every single time. They used to do it with Eric Holder all the time. And it's just out in the open. It's just really just out in the open. I was an intern on Capitol Hill back in the 90s. I cannot remember any sort of example of this that I've ever seen where the minority or the majority does not share the information. That's usually a standard committee rule for every committee in Congress. There's nothing exciting or crazy about that. Imagine, remember during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, there was this big outrage about a letter that Senator Feinstein had that Charles Grassley didn't see, and the Republicans flipped out because they didn't have that letter and all of this. But what's really happening here is that Jim Jordan, of course, doesn't want to give the minority, the Democrats, the information because, of course, they're going to go to the press and say this is ridiculous because it is ridiculous. And then the press will be that much further ahead in reporting how ridiculous it is. So to pull off the nonsense, to pull off the ridiculousness, you've got to walk into the committee with nobody knowing nothing and then surprise everybody and get everybody off guard. And nobody is fooled. Jim Jordan is a silly person. Everybody knows he's a silly person. And you can't, be this stupid and this crazy and get away with it in the open air and think you're fooling anybody. They're not fooling anybody. They're just wasting time. They're creating segments for Fox News. They're creating YouTube videos and then moving on to the next thing and thinking that people are fooled, and they're just not.
Again, this is what happens, Greg, when folk don't vote, allowing these fools to get back in power. It's also what happens when you have Democrats in New York State who are stupid as hell, who gerrymander their districts so bad that they have Supreme Court rules against them. But that's also what happens when you have stupid Democrats who appoint Republicans to your state Supreme Court who issue those rulings. But these people are not ready for prime time, but people need to understand, if they think that this is light work, let that fool Trump get back into the Oval Office and see what happens.
Well, Roland, I mean, this is the age-old dilemma, isn't it? This is what you've been preaching for years and throwing your full body in and full resources in, getting people involved. When Cliff and Latosha talk about the fact that black voting matters, that people should participate and need to work hard at that, this is what they mean. A couple of weeks ago on the Black Table, we had a conversation with David Pepper, who used to be the head of the Ohio Democratic Party, wrote a book called Laboratories of Autocracy. And he talks about that fool that we just saw, Jim Jordan, spelled G-Y-M, of course, as people in Columbus, Ohio, at Ohio State University, who that blind eye hillbilly is. And he talks about the fact that voter turnout is what allows this fool to continue to come back to the federal legislature and fight arguably to be the dumbest member of the federal legislature since the beginning of the damn United States Congress. But it's the voter turnout. People need to wash them away. I just came back from Philadelphia last week. Voter turnout in the Democratic primary for mayor was abysmal. And, you know, we saw what happened to Gary Chambers in Louisiana, and we all know, I mean, Mike Epstein in Louisiana, I'm sorry, Mississippi, of course, and young Dan Cameron now. We got to be beset with him in a potential governor battle with Andy Beshear in Kentucky. When you stay home, this is what happens. And, you know, we're talking about people who have the ability to rule over our lives. As Lauren said, as you said, sis, I mean, this man doesn't pass any legislation. He's a fool. He's there raising money. And you can't beat him with logic because the hillbilly foolishness is what they love. And finally, I'll say this: on the day that we saw Nancy Abudu appointed to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals and put it now at a 6-6 tie after Donald Trump flipped it with those Republican appointees, Joe Manchin flipped and didn't vote for her today. And when people say, well, none of this matters and stuff doesn't matter, if people had turned out, you wouldn't have to sweat Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema in the United States Congress, and you wouldn't have to worry about whether Dianne Feinstein has another 10 years or 10 minutes left in her life. The fact of the matter is, when you don't go to the polls, this is the kind of foolishness we have to put up with.
Oh, absolutely. And Avis, you see how these right-wing FBI agents, they all have infiltrated law enforcement, and these Republicans, we see what they're actually doing, and all of a sudden they want to yell defund the FBI, defund the ATF, and I'm like, Democrats, beat them over the head with that one.
Yes, they, you know, if Democrats had a backbone, they would. I mean, let's just, that's what's so frustrating to me, is that it's such easy pickings, such low-hanging fruit to, you know, point out the ridiculous hypocrisy of that, of individuals who obviously can't come up with an original thought to save their lives, using the same rhetoric that they pummeled Democrats with earlier with regards to a legitimate issue of police brutality against Black people. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing right now on Capitol Hill, and what we will see as long as they have power, you know, hopefully something will change in the next election, is this is just a clown show. You know, bring out the popcorn. This is Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey in the People's House, because there is no desire there to pass any legislation. The Republicans don't give a damn about actually doing their damn jobs. They don't give a damn about that. They don't give a damn about the people they even represent. They really don't care. What they want to do, as Lauren rightly pointed out, is to use this as a fundraising mechanism so they can stay in power. And what they're trying to do is stay in power long enough they're hoping to be able to retake the White House such that now they can push through more legislation that would be even more draconian than what they got through when Trump was in last time. Their whole point right now is to stall the reels of progress, because the first 2 years of President Biden's administration, he actually got a lot done, even though most people don't really know about what happened. A lot happened, okay? And their whole point right now is to gum up the system and to put on sideshows and clown shows and actually make clips and fundraising mechanisms so they can stay in power. So congratulations. That's what you get, once again, when you don't vote.
There you go. You get a clown show. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.